Hello. It's the start of the end, I would say. It's the last panel. Thank you everyone for staying with us. And we have the honor to have Nicole with us, who put all of this together. So how about a round of applause for making this massive event happening? Thank you, Nicole. So, yeah, thank you. It's been amazing. People from all over the world are here, and we have a great time. Thank you so much. And we have with us Leander, Herzog, artist from Switzerland. We have Lucas, working for Dialectic, a fund who, among others, owns Human One by Beeple, which is not on Tezos, but we still enjoy your company. We have Nicole, who put all of this together, verticalcrypto, and we have Valerie working for Tezos. I would kindly like to ask you to briefly introduce yourself the way you would like to be introduced. Leander?
Hi, I'm Lenny. I make images with code since like 2006, so I'm a generative artist, and I do most of my work on Tezos.
That's great.
Hi, I'm Lucas. I work for Dialectic, which is a family office and venture capital company in Switzerland. We have a art collection that is called One of One. As Anika said, most famous by owning People's Human One. And I'm the head curator of the art guild of our collection.
Hey everyone, I'm Nicole. I'm the founder of verticalcrypto art. Yeah, that's it, I guess.
all of us know you by now.
Hi, my name is Valerie. I work for Trilitech, which is the London office that makes up part of the Tezos ecosystem. And I'm the newest one here, so many of you might not know me, but please come say hi. It's a pleasure, absolutely, to be here.
Thank you, everyone. We're supposed to speak about the future of Web3 with Tezos, but I guess it's the best to start with the past. So how did all of you get involved with Tezos, or maybe why not?
Shots fired.
Lenny?
Basically, you had to get started on Tezos because everyone I know was talking about NFTs and Tezos. So in the beginning, I ignored it, but at some point it became completely inevitable. So I jumped on the bandwagon, tried to sell some of my work on Tezos. It worked pretty great, so I enjoy it ever since.
I guess you invited me here for playing the bad guy.
No, we just, want to convert you.
Right. We actually mainly collect on Ethereum. I've obviously been looking at Tezos a lot, and we're actually chain agnostic. We don't really specifically care about where the artwork or the gaming assets or the PFPs are that we collect. But we've not jumped yet on the bandwagon. And one of the reasons I'm here, I guess, is to find out what is actually going on. Yeah.
And what's your impression so far of the artist community and the quality of the art on Tezos?
It's obviously fantastic. I mean, it's I think in line with the title of the conference. It's the quality of the people, and that then derives down to the quality of art, and that is obviously very high. I think as part of our DNA being a venture capital company, we don't just look at opportunities, we look at risks as well. And so, the question of which chain is, to me, analogous of the question an artist has to ask themselves, which materials do they use, and will things persist over time? And this is something, as we all know, crypto is very volatile. And if you've been around in previous bull markets and bear markets, then you've seen a lot of chains kind of washed away at some point. And I think the interesting question is not really revolving around the art, but more around kind of the general ecosystem. What happens? How fast does it grow?
So you'll keep observing?
For now, yes.
Good, thank you. Nicole, how did you get started?
Actually, on what you said about the people, that's kind of how I got into Tezos, because it was Mario Klingerman, who if you were here, if your tribe definitely is interactive NFT in room 2, but also he did a great keynote on Wednesday as well. And I've known Mario. He was experimenting. He's an experimenter, and he experimented with Tezos, with Hic et Nunc actually at the time. And we were Twitter friends at the time. And I thought what he was doing was, I think everything Mario does is pretty cool. And actually he was like, oh, I found this incredible platform. It's all anonymized wallets. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know where you're minting or what you're collecting. I think it's very cool. And this was just after the Beeple mania, which I think changed a lot of how the ecosystem and the NFT ecosystem was being seen from everyone, the mass, the media, and there was a lot of talk about money, which is really not very interesting to me personally. And so, I thought, let's get it started. And actually, he gave me my first Tez. I created a wallet and I started, collecting art on Hic et Nunc, and I thought the art was incredible. And that's how it built from there, really.
I think he onboarded all of us, right? He was very convincing. That was I think 18 months ago or so, right?
It's true.
It was March. You too?
Yeah, same.
Yeah, maybe we find one person who... Oh, no, I keep stopping. I stopped right
actually,
now.
I did mint his NFT earlier, so I'm
we just
onboarded
minted,
now,
yeah. No, but Mario was... I've been doing a live stream with him for a gallery, König I worked before, and he was so convincing. And from that day on, I started following what's happening on Tezos. Valerie, how about you? Have you also been onboarded by Mario?
I wasn't onboarded by Mario, though I do share videos and interviews that he's done frequently with people from my past. I come from the traditional gallery commercial side. I spent 14 years dealing in fine art photographs. And when I discovered this space, I was not only inspired by the community and really seeing the momentum and the energy, which I've had the privilege now to actually experience in real life, not just kind of understand the narrative of it. But what I think the thing that really brought me to the Tezos ecosystem was the governance aspect of the chain, understanding that there's a voice that stakeholders have, and that there's an 80-20 model, a supermajority model that to me makes so much more sense in the contemporary art space, if you're going to apply it both to the future, but also apply it to the past and preservation of arts and culture as well. So that was really, for me, one of the primary this is my sort of contemporary art speak, my selling points of the platform that got me pretty hooked to understanding the rest of the ecosystem and all the possibilities associated.
And what do you say to people or reply to people who worry about the future of the blockchain?
Oh, I think the model that Tezos follows is one that is scalable and largely future-proof. Yes, of course, markets ebb and flow. There is going to be artists who choose other chains and come back for different purposes. Like to Lucas's point, that you need to be faithful to the medium you choose. But I do believe that particular governance aspect, the way that Tezos has structured itself, makes it a chain that artists can rely on for the future. I truly just fundamentally believe that. And the more I explore it and the more that I see the applications of it, the more I understand that to be true.
And Nicole and Lenny, what do you say to ETH maxis who are critical of Tezos? Do you have any good arguments to convince them? Or maybe you don't even try to convince them and say, well, stay on ETH?
I'm still trying to understand what the problem is. I met some people this week who still don't trust Tezos. They say there's not enough use cases, or they have other criticisms. I don't really know. I'm not too much of a technical person when it comes to blockchain stuff, so I don't really have a judgment on that. I'm still trying to understand, come on guys, what do you have to lose? Just give it a try.
I've dealt with quite a lot of criticism when I started speaking about Tezos and actually, essentially building a community around Tezos. I definitely supported Hic et Nunc and all of that ecosystem a lot from the very beginning. And I'm not gonna lie, I did receive, some nasty DMs and stuff like that saying, what are you doing? It's a dead chain, it's a ghost chain, blah, blah, blah. Personally, I work in the art and culture ecosystem. I'm not a blockchain maxi. So similar, to what Lenny just said, I understand some of the concerns that I actually hear from, different collectors or, people that have been in the ecosystem, especially in the crypto ecosystem for years and have seen chains come and go. So I really understand that. But my side and my focus is on, elevating and nurturing and curating art. And so I go where the artists go. And that's where it is now.
And what we've seen during the crash, sale numbers on ETH are down, sales on Tezos are up. Do you have numbers for us, Valerie? Sorry, I didn't ask you to prepare with numbers. Maybe
no.
We're lucky.
I would just say, what's great about this space is that the numbers are readily available to you. They change every day, which is why I don't actually come prepared with numbers anyway. But absolutely, that information is out there, and anything that we say on this panel, or to your point, that the sales are going up, it's transparent. You can see it for yourself. So please do go explore.
I heard numbers like ETH is 50% down and Tezos 70% up.
I think 70 was true at one point. It's probably about 60 at this point, but yeah, it's up and not down, and that's where the energy is going, and that's what's really great about this space.
But is this numbers of what? Prices or transactions or wallet addresses?
Volume.
Nicole, you wanted to say something?
But yeah, I think there's a fundamental aspect that is, I think, maybe kind of true with most of the proof of stake like blockchains, that is the accessibility. So obviously, especially in the last, let's say, now, the whole market is down, but when ETH was 4K, for example, or 3K or 2K, that is a lot of money for the average human being, who lives and has a normal job, has to pay rent, and, it's a lot of money. So I think that is also what has led a lot of the ecosystem to be developed. And, you see it with artists coming from all over the world, for example. We run a residency program with verticalcrypto art. It would be absolute madness to talk to artists just about ETH who live in Africa, for example, or the African continent, or Asia, or many places that are not the Western world, where, the ETH is just inaccessible for them. And why would they need to be cut out of this ecosystem, right? Why would they need to be cut out of a piece of an innovation, that allows them to experiment and do, whatever they want to do with the blockchain and be part of web3 as well. So I think that's very key. And yeah, probably why, there's a lot of transactions as well.
And the works are also not that expensive, right? You can get pretty good work for one Tezos, which is around $1, a bit more. But yeah, Lenny, for you as an artist, what are the advantages of being on this chain?
I think I onboarded 10 other artists, or maybe 20 at this point. I don't know. I also onboarded my aunt, who is 75 years old. So I think all this would be completely impossible if it wasn't really about the art and if it wasn't as cheap as it is. So that really makes a lot possible. And like Nicole, I just follow the people. And I think most artists are not too technical and just follow the people. And that's why we have this amazing community now. And that's actually mostly what it means. I hear about the governance aspect. I kind of sort of know what it means, but not really too much. So we're just following the people, and then that's why we're here now, I guess.
And the collectors obviously follow the artists, right? We could see that over the past weeks when the crypto crash happened. But
not
people
all,
are still collecting.
Not everybody, but most of them, yeah. And there's a lot of new people coming over from ETH, and a lot of collectors follow us, but there's still skepticism. Fair enough. I used to be a web developer for 10 years, so I'm very used to a fast-moving technology environment, and there's always maxis. There's always someone who prefers a different technology, so that's a pretty healthy and normal thing. Usually, that's a good sign, actually, that you're onto something. If someone comes up to you and basically insults you or prefers something else, that means like you're onto something good, like in one way or another.
And what has changed over the past 18 months? Nicole and Lenny. I mean, it's not like last year, right? When Hicket Nunk was new, Hicket Nunk is now Teja, and so on. What has changed?
I mean, I think it's just developed. A lot of new platforms have emerged. Some have gone. New ones have been, forked and created, which is also the nature of blockchain. These things happen, like forks happen, things come and go. As you were saying, like there's been definitely a lot of new artists have come into Tezos, and I don't think it's just art. Actually, I think there's like a few other applications and different verticals that are being, explored. I also think like specific, if I think about like this event specifically, I don't think we would have been able to do a proof of people situation and like experiences with a technology and a chain that is not accessible for the normal human being. So you're minting a work, you're not going to pay like any ETH or 0.5, or it's going back to that, like it's just high barriers to entry. And I think with the low barriers to entry, it just brings more people in. So I think what has changed is just more people, more artists, more collectors, more platforms. So we'll see.
Can I take the devil's advocate argument? Yeah. What about optimism or Polygon or?
Absolutely. I mean, I've never been a one-chain maximalist. Like, we've built with verticalcrypto art. The first thing we did when we built our auction platform was have it cross-chain, so artists can mint wherever they want. If they want to mint on ETH, great. If they want to mint on Tezos, great. Polygon, I think it's a great chain. Absolutely. I agree. Like, I'm not a maxi on anything, so I think there's some great applications across the ecosystem. For art specifically, I believe at the moment, from my personal view, it's pretty much happening on Tezos. I don't really see any other applications of art on other chains apart from ETH and Tezos. But correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm just mentioning these two specifically because if you're an artist, you could mint on Polygon or Optimism and then transfer to ETH later on. Like this, the EVM compatibility kind of does have a big impact on future-proofing your work for not 2 years, not 5 years, but like 40 years or something like that. Because like that's what we're really talking about with chains, I think, is how do we put things into the internet and attach ownership to it and keep it there forever. And I think that's the big kind of question we're missing a bit sometimes. And it ties into an off-chain and on-chain discussion, and it ties into all these different questions of formats and files used and chains used, and it becomes very technical very quickly if you want to kind of thoroughly make an informed decision.
But how can artists mint if they don't have collectors? And like, what are they minting for then? I mean, they're just putting art on the chain and leaving it there, and what happens then?
Great question, yeah. Sure.
I mean, that's the thing why everyone is on Tezos right now, because of the community, right? I mean, we're here. So, and I mean, the community is probably the most convincing part. What do you say?
I think two very big changes. First is we all know each other now. So yes. I think that's a pretty dramatic moment of the internet is getting out of hand. And also the art that I see compared to when I started on Tezos is like a lot better now. Like the art is just so much better, so much more exciting. The rhythm is a little bit slower, but the art in general is much, much better. And that's the most exciting thing, I think.
It's slower?
Yeah, I think so.
Pretty
I think like
fast on FX hash.
Yeah, that's true.
So
maybe I'm just getting tired.
Maybe do you want to briefly, funny enough, I just realized I wear an FX hash hat, which I didn't do on purpose, but would you maybe briefly explain what FX hash is? Maybe not everyone knows it.
Okay, that's tricky. I think FX hash is like art blocks, but on Tezos.
What is art blocks? Some people might not know, right?
Okay, well, there is generative art. Maybe you've heard about it. It was very difficult to explain and to sell for a long time. And now we have a platform where we can basically generate stuff with code and have high editions, and people can mint and collect directly on this platform. The difference is that Art Blocks is curated. It takes a lot of time for an artist to get on Art Blocks. You can make a lot of money sometimes, depends on the market. And FX Hash is sort of like a similar model, but it's on Tezos, and it's not curated. So everybody can join, everybody can mint, and you can like do really amazing stuff and build an audience basically overnight.
That's true, I guess, and that's why I meant it's like really fast. I mean, if there's mint, like it feels like every minute.
Yeah, personally, like I made my first drop and it was sold out in like 2 minutes or 1 minute, which is like, I never had an experience like that in my life ever before as an artist. It's completely crazy, and it's a pretty life-changing event for most of us, I think.
And how do all of you keep yourself informed when we speak about speed? I mean, yes, there's NFT Twitter, but I have the feeling I also have to be there like 24/7 to not miss anything. And then I visit FX Hash, and then there's like so many things happening. How do you keep an overview of what's going on, and how do you judge quality and what you actually want to collect? Maybe that's a good question for Nicole. How do you stay informed?
I struggle a lot, especially in the last 6 months where I wasn't really focusing on collecting that much. It's a hard question. NFT Twitter is my main area. I'm on Twitter a lot. I think everybody who follows me knows that. I use you actually a lot. You inform me on a lot of things, Anika.
I would have said the exact same
You're my best informer.
Yeah?
Your DMs is like, this is happening. That's probably how I get my latest news.
And I follow you guys on Twitter. That's where I get my information from. Valerie?
I'm as a non-Twitter, non-Web3 native who's still learning how to operate quite as fast as necessary. I absolutely adore the editorial on Right Click Save. I find that for me like really anchors the content. If any of you have not visited the platform, Alex, who runs it, is an art historian, and so the language there and the content there really like brings a lot of insight for me. I won't say that that's necessarily how I keep myself informed of the next thing that's happening, but it's really inspired me to continue to engage further with NFT Twitter, and it gives me that access point to kind of know what I'm seeing as someone who's new to the space.
And what's a good way to get started collecting on Tezos? What do you recommend? What do people have to do to start?
I really like being able to map where I want to look. And the way I started was really just by going to Tezos.com, looking at the ecosystem page, and really just taking a few of the NFT marketplaces. And it's really easy. You can filter it through NFTs and through a little button that's on the page, and to go through, because there's not millions of them, to go through and just open tabs of each and every marketplace and really like find which one communicates best to you. I adore Object. I'm just sort of starting to learn about 2 or 3 others that are sort of new to the space. I mean, Teo obviously has like a rich, deep history, but I think it's very personal in terms of like which place has the kind of format and setup, and also the content, the art that speaks to you. And there are genres of art, generative being one of them, but plenty others as well. So that was my tactic, at least when I started, to try to learn about which place was kind of met my comfort zone. And of course, I need to expand and push those boundaries, but that's a good starting point for any of you that haven't started, I think.
And object.com is like OpenSea.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It has a lot of material on there, but I do think it's once I got my head around other marketplaces, it became actually really fluid to understand kind of the order in which things are placed and how to navigate it. It didn't take a very long time at all, and I actually really enjoy the daily logins now, seeing what's being minted.
And Lucas, how do you inform yourself? You're taking care of the curatorial part for Dialectic. How do you stay on top of everything?
So all points above, and we collect as a group. So the collection 1 actually started as the individual collections of everyone at the office, and then at some point we decided, well, it would make sense to merge the collection and make this a group effort. And we very much make decisions as a group and inform each other about what we want to do, and then take votes on a Slack channel and a weekly meeting. And it's very seldomly an individual decision. As for the information sources, I mean, it's the same old. It's really Twitter and Telegram and basically personal networks just digitized, right? So we talk a lot with the artists we collect. We do a lot of projects with our artists, and so kind of that's always a good source of alpha, is the Twitter feed of your favorite group of artists, because they are going to actually interact with things they think is interesting, and those are probably the things that are good if you believe in certain people.
It sounds like, from what all of you are saying, that people can't get around Twitter.
Say it again.
From what all of you have been just saying, it seems like people who want to inform themselves can't get around Twitter.
Well, you can stay off of Twitter and just collect what you like visually. I think that's totally an option. You don't have to treat it as a financial asset. It's like super easy to collect. It's super cheap. You can just scroll and get what you like.
And meet people. I mean, this is one of the great outcomes of festivals like this, is that you can actually put faces to names and have discussions and get excited about the next things by meeting people or just developing relationships.
But I also think actually one of the really unique things about this ecosystem and in general, like, Web3 and art, is that most of the artists are, well, one, alive, and two, they're here. Like, they're, you can talk to them. And so actually Twitter is a way to talk to them. Like you were saying, I also talk to a lot of artists, well, obviously, but it's good. You can engage in that conversation. You can actually ask them questions. You can know what they're up to, talk about their work. And I think that's something that doesn't really happen usually. Like, you go to a gallery, it's rare that the artist is there. It's rare that you have a conversation with them. So yeah, that's the cool part. So I think that should be, experienced.
And I think what's actually happening is that we're moving from this kind of idea of the lone genius, the big names, the Warhols and the Picassos and these big towering figures that allegedly make everything from the genius of their mind, which is not really true, because they all run big production studios and they're always group collectives that create those pieces, to more of an idea of networked culture where, the network is quantified and the people who create the culture are very, very closely tied to their collectors and to other artists and to the people who actually interact with their smart contracts. So it feels to me like we're in a culture shift where, just shutting yourself off from the outside world and trying to be an island, it's not really true anymore. Memes are the best example of this, right? The best jokes on the planet are currently developed on a social network and are kind of constantly recycled and shared and ameliorated and made better in version 257. And I think that's kind of where cultural creation in general is going. And so, in my opinion, you have to be online.
You have to be online. That's good. I mean, Lenny, how do you're listening right now? I see that you're listening. They're speaking about artists. And usually when NFTs got big, everyone was speaking about, well, artists can now finally take care of themselves. Everyone was happy, the middleman is gone, like the galleries. But in the past, there's still galleries. Don't worry. Everything is fine with galleries. So there's still there museums, galleries, all good. It's not just nightclubs and proof of people. But we hope for more in every city. I just said to your partner, well, what do we do next week? I asked Ryan, so we need to meet someone next week, right?
Sleep.
Yeah, that's what he said. How do you feel about that as an artist? I mean, people say it's great to meet you here, collectors meet you online, then funds want to meet you. You need to create, you need to communicate, you need to sell. You're here speaking, you're doing everything. How do you feel about it?
It's super exciting. It's also exhausting. I'm super tired. I spend a lot of time talking to collectors, to you, to other people, to all of you. It's completely a new thing for me. Usually I create like alone in solitude, more or less. So I haven't been like too productive over the last couple of weeks, to be honest. Looking forward to go back to the studio and basically spend some alone time with just the laptop and like basically do what I usually do with coding. I'm still trying to find a balance between marketing myself and taking care of collector relations and doing interviews and stuff like that, because it all takes a lot of time. I was completely surprised by this. I enjoy it, of course. It's nice. But it's also like a danger for me and like eating into my time that I have to basically make art.
And what do collectors actually want to speak with you about? I mean, we just heard there's FX hash, and then there's object where you can mint like unique pieces, one-of-ones, but also editions. Then you set your own price. There's no gallery who says this is a price. So how's that with you? You know, you don't have a gallerist, but are like maybe collectors a source of exchange, or do they maybe expect things from you? Like say, oh, can I get that for, you know, cheaper? How's that?
It's a bit of everything. Like some people want a discount.
And what do you say?
I don't give discounts usually.
Don't try it.
Some people want to get on the reserve list. Some people always want to know what you're working on. Some people want like to hear your complete life story. Some people want to tell you their complete life story. Some people have like some random tip about whatever they're working on. So it's always like really difficult to sort of like feel out if they're like providing some value for you and the conversation, or if they're just trying to shill their own thing. But in general, it's really interesting, and I learn a lot from that because in the end, I really care about like how people perceive my art and what they think about it and what they expect from it. But it's definitely like a lot of expectation management that is happening right now, and that will probably stay like that for the near future, I guess.
And how do you set your prices? Is that difficult? Do you do that in exchange with other artists?
Sometimes it's very, very difficult. I try to always have some high edition cheap art so that everybody who comes along can actually afford and find something to collect from me. I also try to have some very expensive stuff. So if you want to support me by giving me a lot of money, you can do that and you get an NFT for it. And I try to sort of like follow the crowd, for example, when it comes to FX hash with like whatever the mood of the day is when it comes to Dutch auctions, like how you set prices, what is like the lowest price, what is the highest price. You sort of look at peers, what are they doing, and try to find like a price that feels reasonable. Sometimes people say it's too cheap. Sometimes people say it's too expensive. It's never okay for everybody. And we just try and see what sticks, basically.
I mean, it's interesting. Valerie, you said you're also from the traditional art world, and there, you know, paintings, you need museum shows, you need gallery shows, you need this and that. It takes years until prices go up, and you can just have this price today and the next day a totally different price. Is it liberating?
It's very confusing. It is liberating. It's also exhausting. I still don't know like what I'm doing actually. Maybe I should have like a strategy.
Don't say that. Pretend you do.
No, really, it's very difficult to know like what works and what doesn't, because sometimes I make something very expensive and then it basically is there for a couple of months and then suddenly someone buys it. Sometimes I make something super cheap and everything is sold out instantly, which is also like a very exciting feeling as an artist. I don't know what's best. I'm sure I could do much better. Like maybe I need some strategist or like a consultant or a gallery. Who knows?
You need a job, Anika, don't like?
Yeah, he was just looking at me. Nicole, do we found a gallery now tomorrow? No, we sleep first. He looked at me and was like, he needs a gallery. And then I'm like, expectation management. Now I'm like, do we found a gallery tomorrow?
You've asked me this before, actually. I know. No, but I think what's interesting that, I was just thinking while Lenny was speaking, it's like there is a bit of an expectation with Web3 and art that everything has to sell immediately.
Yep.
And I think that puts, and also there's, this gamification concept that is very much integral to Web3, even on FXH, if you think about it, or any of these, generative art platforms, like, there's a reserve list and you have to add your, wallet to the Twitter post, and then you have to, know at what time it's going to be there. Like, it's complex.
It's a full-time job.
Yeah, it's a full-time job, first of all, and it is complex, and also even for one-of-ones. Like, I know we work primarily with like one-of-ones on auction, and there's an expectation that everything has to sell exactly in that moment, or that the reserve has to be met exactly when the auction opens. And it's that doesn't really happen. It's fine if it doesn't sell, and if it stays for a month, 2 months, 3 months, a year. And I hope that's what talking about the future of Web3 art in general, like. That's how the market and in general, like this ecosystem evolves, is thinking a bit more long term and a bit less short term, from like a curator perspective, from a collector perspective, from an artist perspective in general, and even from a blockchain perspective, like thinking more long term rather than short term.
Yeah, I saw it like last week, and I tweeted it. I was like, there's slow food, there's slow fashion, now where's slow NFT drops? And then Lenny was like, you took a screenshot of your NFT sales, and you were like, yeah, I do slow NFTs. Because your sales were like really slow.
Yeah, I have some pieces that I listed for like a lot of money when I started. Like a lot of money felt like, for example, in the screenshot I sent you, it was like 37 Tezos. I started with selling stuff for like 0.5 or 1 Tez. And then I listed something for 37 Tezos, which felt like super expensive. Nobody's going to buy that ever, but let's just give it a try. That's like trial and error. And these actually started selling, but very slowly. For example, this is an edition of 37 pieces for 37 Tezos, and there's still some available. And I really like that, like sort of that slow process of selling over time to really like people who care about the work. It's maybe like, it's not really expensive, but it's also not super cheap. It's like a sweet spot in the middle. And very often artists say like, hey, I'm completely sold out on all platforms. And that's actually stupid, I think. I hope this never happens, because I always want a collector to have the option to buy something from me, like whenever they arrive on whatever chain or marketplace.
I mean, CryptoPunks were $50 at some point, and then people said that's really expensive. I think people have changed their mind. Let's hope the best for you. Fingers crossed for the millions to come in. So I think we're close to the end now. What are your, before we ask you for your questions, what are your predictions for the future of Web3 with Tezos? Valerie, what do you hope for?
I hope that, and this goes straight, actually, just, I'm going to quote McColl's last point, that there's a lot of innovation and a lot of new applications that are coming out. And there is, and I think Lenny and Anika, you've both said the phrase trial and error. Like, there's going to be a lot of trial and error, but actually it's all moving forward. And it's moving forward in a direction where the creators are being uplifted, where collectors are establishing faith in the system, and equally, from my own personal perspective, wanting to make sure that museums and archives and people who are custodians of art from human history start to see opportunities in this space, and on Tezos as well. That's something that I really hope to see more and more of. And from my experience in Art Basel a few weeks ago, however many weeks ago that was, I'm starting to see a lot of really, really creative questions and dialogues from museums and archives that I can't wait to explore further.
Thank you, Nicole. Your predictions for the future?
I think I said it before, like more long-term thinking. I don't have projections for the future. I think it will keep developing. I actually would like to see, as like Valerie was saying, more applications of even different industries on Tezos, not just art. yeah, the ecosystem developing in a more consolidated manner. I think now, so far, up until, the last bull run, maybe a couple of months ago, everything was very fast. Everybody was trying to do something, not really knowing what they were doing, and just, kind of like on a hamster wheel. And I think now there's time to stop and think about things more thoughtfully. And that's good. So I think there's more long-term thinking, more more thoughtful planning.
Thank you, Lucas.
I just want to see great work. Like, that's it. Like, I don't have a projection for you or hopes or dreams where I see it going. I just hope I see more great work.
I think that's what all of us hope, more great work. Lenny, what are your predictions and hopes?
I have no predictions. I hope that the sort of gap between contemporary art and what we call crypto art here is going away. And of course also that the art is getting even better.
Great, thank you. Do we have questions from the... Yes, we have. Over there, do we have a mic?
Thank you for your contributions, everybody. So we've discussed how Tezos is growing a community through the acquisition of users and gaining critical mass with a bunch of artists. But we also need developers to help contribute to the system. Now, I'm new to Tezos, but my understanding is that it uses a different coding language to the one that's used on Ethereum. If we look to Polkadot, another blockchain, it has made accommodations to make it Ethereum compatible and allow people to develop with that language. Are there any plans to do that with Tezos? And if not, doesn't that carry a risk of new NFTs missing out on the latest web3 opportunities and features? Thank you.
I'm lucky that I had this conversation earlier with someone from my team. There are plans. There are plans. There are conferences. There are development events. I don't have a calendar that I can share with you, but I could there are members of the ecosystem that are certainly paying attention to this, and absolutely developers are a priority.
Any more questions? No? Then that's it. This was Proof of People. Thank you once again, everyone on here.
Just quick final words. First of all, thank you, everybody. As you can maybe hear my tone of voice, I am exhausted. Probably not the best idea to do the panel, to have myself on the panel in the last day of the 3 days, but we went through this. This is not just me, by the way. It's really not just me. And I actually want to underline that because there's an incredible team of people that have been working day and night for many months together. Verticalcrypto is not just one person. Maybe I am on Twitter, but there's, a lot of people behind this. So I really want to thank everybody. I want to thank Fabric. I want to thank the whole team here because they've been absolutely amazing. All of the artists, actually, that have given trust to us because without the artists, we wouldn't be here. And all of our partners, Tezos, and everybody who has made it possible. And thank you to all of you. We've seen so many of you over the 3 days constantly. So it was the first time. It was an experiment. A lot of things went wrong. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you soon. Thank you.